Well, good evening. This is March's astrophotography meeting, and we've got a couple of good presentations or questions, and we're going to get started. First, we always ask for, is there any newbies that have questions? And we were talking that offline before we started recording. Do we want to continue any other questions about anything you want about, particularly aimed at new folks that come on? Going once?
What is the easiest way to start learning PixInsight? Because I see there are lots of tutorials on YouTube. Is there a, I mean, would you, how would you recommend a beginner start learning PixInsight?
You make a request to Marilyn and myself for an initial
Yeah, that would work.
free
That would work.
Zoom call, and we'll step you through stacking, and then we'll step you through the process,
Okay.
and we'll record it for you.
Okay.
Well, if you want to do something formal, Anna Block's got a really good, fairly inexpensive video methodology to teach you too. But it actually is a lot of fun. Steve and I done duo presentations or working with individual people for a long time, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
We all learn. So just email us and we'll set up a time, and it's kind of we get a set of data from someplace and
Oh, nice.
have at it.
Yeah, anytime, Ethan.
Ethan, if you want to, I mean, it's a lot of fun. So all you to ask. We're here to serve.
No, it really isn't. When you're not splitting the cost or something with somebody else for like room or rentals.
No, it's free. Free as you get anyway. Okay, well, great. I guess what we'll do then, no other questions. That's a good question. Because Steve and I do enjoy doing it. We did the Bernard's Loop. We tried it last couple months, and John used a new tool that's part of Nina. And I think a lot of us use Nina because it's a free overall control of everything on software. And they have a new scheduler that I did a template was I was doing it. He did one that programmed a whole lot more than what my template did. So, John, are you queued up and ready to go?
I do have a question for John.
Sure.
Before he starts. If you have a PC, I got a cheap old laptop. If you want to do Nina, you got to have a decent PC, don't you? What?
No,
No.
I've got my telescope PC, which was using the little small scope, which is still out there. It's like an older Celeron, like gigahertz.
Yeah,
gigahertz.
that's what I'm talking about. That
And
cheap
it's got 6 gig of RAM. It's got 4 USB ports, and but it's been doing pretty good. But it can't handle some of the newer stuff. Like it takes too long to download the pictures from the Player One camera, the 571 sensor that it has, because it's a lot bigger.
Are those APS-C?
Yeah, it's the
Okay,
APS-C size for that one.
So
Whereas
yeah,
my 533 is smaller. It's more of a smaller square sensor, and it works perfectly fine. But getting to the bigger sensors, it takes too long for it to download, and it causes problems. Because when I moved over to the newer PC on my bigger scope, a lot of that stuff I had issues with all went away. And
yeah.
I was like, "Ooh, that's nice."
Yeah, but that little mini $200 mini PC that I keep out in the observatory.
Yeah, I paid like 135, I think, for this like 5-6 years ago,
It's dirt.
maybe even longer.
So if you got something, I think Nina is not very memory or processor intensive.
Okay.
And I just bought another little mini PC to replace it, which I don't know if you can see right here, but it's like the black square box.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's a Celeron M100, and it's got 16 gig of RAM, but it's got 4 USB ports. It's actually got 5, because it's got one USB. Actually, it's got 2 USB-Cs. It's got 2 USB 2.0s and 2 USB 3s. And it's got dual HDMI ports, which I don't care about. And it's got a Ethernet port in the back, plus it's got wireless. And I just put in a 1 terabyte NVMe drive into it for data storage.
Okay.
Oh,
So and that's right here. It's on my desk. So I haven't got everything loaded and tricked out on it yet.
Mhm.
So, but it will be here shortly. And that's going to
Okay.
replace the PC that's on my little bitty scope.
Excellent.
But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, in the beginning, as long as it'll, you can connect your cameras and everything up to it and run Nina, it works. So these are my two scopes in the backyard that are under the cover at the moment.
Yeah. It sounds like you're saying the worst part is the transfer of files.
Yeah, if you got a bigger sensor, you're going to want something probably a little more beefier, or have a USB-C or USB 3 port that's got a little more better traffic management. Even though the old one I have out there has got two USB 3s on it. It's just that if you start drawing a little more too much power, it just starts dropping connections and stuff.
Okay. Excellent. Thank
Well,
you.
that's USB. One of the neat things about Nina has the ability to remote download. So it takes the image, puts it on the hard drive, and automatically puts it on my network to my main home, inside the house computer.
Yep.
It's all automatic. It's just that's a real neat feature.
Nina has a lot of features.
A lot of features, and you can't beat the cost.
Mhm.
Yeah, free.
Another one that's free. Okay, well, I'm going to turn it over to you, John. You
Okay.
did your presentation, and we'll get going. And for this meeting, we'll take as long as it takes.
I got 50 slides at the moment.
Only 50.
Only 50.
Okay, well, it's all yours. You should be able to share.
Share screen. Okay. Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Just trying to get stuff out of the way.
I mean, we might lose you to some software company like Nina to all the good presentations you do.
Yeah, these are just basic presentation, nothing fancy. There's no really a lot of movement and prep and like that. Just straightforward. So, all right, Nina, target acquired nighttime imaging in astronomy is a little acronym for it. So this is going to be, the first half of this presentation is really going to cover Nina, because you got to have a good understanding of what Nina does, what it can do, to be able to understand the target scheduler if you want to get a little more out of it. So you can get it at the little nighttime-imaging.eu link there at the bottom. Okay, overview. Most of this stuff, I'm going to go through these first 25 slides or so fairly quickly, because it's really straight out of the documentation for Nina. And so so Nina was designed for automated deep sky object imaging using a sequencing model. Kind of like, I guess they're looking at Sequence Generator Pro, which is like the big brother to Nina, if you think about it, even though Nina's going to be competing with it because they're adding more and more features to it. And plus being the free model, a lot of people are jumping on board to it. And it's been around for, 5-6 years now, I guess, maybe a little longer. So basically makes your life easier, imaging sessions easier, faster, comfortable. Nina attempts to make complex concepts and operations easy to understand and effects, so that more time is spent on imaging rather than minding equipment. Requirements: dual core CPU, 3 gig of RAM, Windows 10 or later, 500 gig of free space. That's pretty much the footprint of Nina, what it would need. So if you got that, you should be good to go. Now you want more because you got all the other driver stuff, you connect on your cameras, downloading speeds. So you really want to probably an SSD hard drive. That way you can save stuff faster, image wise, especially the bigger sensor that you got. Other requirements and options, it's ASCOM platform. It will talk to PhD2 guide, talk to MetaGuide guiding. It will do several plate solving applications, ASTAT, AllSky, plate solver, plate solve 2, 3, a bunch of others. So it's got a lot of tentacles going everywhere to talk to everything else. So you can also look at it from planetarium applications, so Cartossil, Stellarium, C to A, Sky Atlas. It will integrate into that. So you can use the Sky Atlas or Stellarium to go pick your target, and it will talk back to Nina. Nina talk to your scope, and you're off and running. So it's got native support for Altair, Altec, Canon, FL Fleet, Nikon Player One, OGMA, Omega, Omegon, QHY, CCD, the Tope Tech, SBIG, ZWO. So it's got, it's getting more and more native support to a lot of the more camera manufacturers that are coming out. It's even with the newer stuff. Guiding applications, it'll talk to PhD2, it'll talk to MetaGuide, MGen 2, 3, SkyGuard. I only really use just the PhD2. Does the ASCOM standard, so if it's got, it'll talk to cameras, mounts, filter wheels, flat panels, focusers, rotators, weather data, domes, switches, safety devices. It covers quite a bit. So be aware that the ASCOM drivers that are provided by the vendor in a 32-bit only form will not be directly accessible by a 64-bit NINA. So if you download 64-bit NINA, you better make sure you get all 64-bit drivers for ASCOM and everything else. Otherwise, you might pull your hair out and figure out why it's not working. It also does, this is fairly newer to ASCOM Alpaca. It's similar to ASCOM. It offers device discovery and direct connections to different Alpaca devices through the network. So back of the scope there, it has actually got a camera rotator. So you just got a spot for 4 cameras that'll rotate around whichever one you want. That's controlled through the Alpaca drivers and stuff. And that's on a Paramount mount. It's got a 16-inch dial Kirkland. It's a little bigger than Merrill's. Plus, it's all hard covered instead of like that.
But you say it's got 4 cameras? Is that what?
Yeah, this one here, this rotator here, there's just this picture. I had to go look it up to figure out. So this is a Rotarion, I guess.
Huh.
And it's a camera kit. So it's got where you can put 4 camera devices on there. And you basically go with, it's like a filter wheel for cameras. You pick the camera you want, it'll rotate it around and set it up, and you're good to go. You want to do something else? If you want to do like a wide field area, you want to do, a lot smaller sensor, big sensor, whatever. So it's got
There you go. So
a lot more options.
that's what you wanted, right?
Yeah. So it's got basically NINA, full equipment control. You can control cameras, telescopes, filter wheels, focuses, rotators, switches, guiders, everything you want to keep you busy for quite a while until you get it all figured out. Image recognition, so it does statistics calculations for each frame and it'll automatically stretch for a good preview of data, star detection with half flex radius calculations. And it actually can give you exposure time recommendations. So there's like the M81, M82, and it's got little spots on there. It's looking at all the stars, and it's given a value on the half flux radius of all the stars, and it will try to give you an average. And so I can use that to see how well your focus is. If it's are they getting bigger, are they getting smaller? More fun stuff. You can do sequencing, so you can set up a sequencer for multi-targets. You can specify various exposure times, number of exposures, filters, automatic target framing, automatic focus after a set of conditions. So if your temperature swings and starts going out of, like 3 or 4 degrees lower, you can set it in and say after 3 degrees, refocus. If after 5 degrees, refocus. You can set it up to where, my stars are now getting too big. The HFR is getting too big on them, refocus. So got a lot of other options in there that you can get lost in. It's got the advanced sequencer. You want to take full control of all your equipment. So it's got a wide array of instructions. You can do different loops for various conditions. You can group instructions by instruction sets. You can do different triggers, and you can schedule a plan ahead of time with reusable templates. It's got Sky Atlas built in, so you basically go type in what you want. It'll bring up what it is. You can select it, for our framing. You can go basically slew to it right there if you want. You can set up as a sequence target, or you can go to the framing wizard. So the framing assistant, you're to bring it in now. Use a little box here. You can move it around to get how you want to frame it, and it will change the center coordinates to where it should be. And then you can add that into your sequencer, whatever target you want, and it'll go slew to it, center it, see where it's supposed to be, matches it for what you want.
What if you don't have What if you don't have an auto rotator there?
This one here is just your basic camera. If you have a DSLR camera,
right?
That's it. I mean, it's going to give you what you want on the size of it. So this one here is showing a 4,000 by 2,000. I just picked a couple things in there. So 4,000 pixel by 2,000 pixel, 3.75 micron, and a 336 millimeter focal length. So
okay,
that'll give you the what it's going to look like from your camera perspective. If you have a different camera, if you load that in there, it'll rechange the camera parameters to what they are in the sensor, because it'll read all that from the driver, and then that frame that's got on there will change the size of what your sensor size will look like compared to the target. You can do plugins. So this one here is like a 3-point polar alignment, which is awesome. And it's got a bunch of other different programs, plugins in there. And it's got a plugin to where actually you can send it to, like what Merrill does. So once you take an image, it saves it. You can ship it off to a network location. You can define all that within a plugin. Say, go over here. So every time it saves something, it'll save it to wherever you want to save it to. But you keep adding more and more plugins to it. So it's not like it's going to be the same all over and over. I mean, they keep adding more here and there. It's all open source. And you can actually go get the code if you want. So there's a repository. You can go get the code if you want to go read the code. If you're a coder, I am not a coder. So I'm a script kiddie, but not a coder.
Is it in Python? Would you know what language?
Don't know.
Okay.
But I would think either Python or maybe even C++. But I don't know. I didn't go really go look what it had. It's fully customizable UI, so user interface. You can change the colors of all different things. If you want a black background, if you want a gray background, you want a red background, you can make it all red, different shades of red, different grades, blue, whatever is pleasing to your eye. And you're going to have something out at the scope. So if you want to go to astroflaps, then you might want to have more of a red theme. Whereas if you're doing it from your comfy of your living room, then you can have whatever scheme you want, not worry about your eyes and stuff like that. But there's different presets you can go through and change.
Nice.
And it does a lot more. So you can actually import in weather data. So the little the Pegasus Pocket Power Box is like a little bit of a weather station. So it at least gives you the temperature and humidity, and you can actually add those in, and then we'll talk to it. It basically just reads and say, okay, I know the humidity here, and I know the temperature here. So we'll use that in its calculation to say, hey, your temperature is now getting too low. It'll actually read the temperature off your focuser and read the temperature off the camera if it's got it. So it's a lot of stuff. Plus, you can do custom horizons. So if you got if you put a horizon in Stellarium for like what Astroflaps is, you can import that into Nina, so it'll give you the same horizon. So it knows what's above tree lines, what's above this, that, whatever. Keeps a lot of logs, histories. So now we're going to let Nina take the wheel. Now we're getting to the main little plugin for the target scheduler. So the target scheduler is a plugin by Tom Palmer. He's got a couple of them out there. So the target scheduler plugin is designed to provide a higher level of automation than typically achievable with Nina. So it's almost like here's my target. You go pick it and you go do whatever you want. Just let me know what you got, and I'll go get it, basically. So it's easy to use interface. You can do multiple target options from the catalog. You can do dynamic target selection based on visibility, weighting scores, moon avoidance. You can do flexible exposures with filter planning, plan previewing, image grading. So if your image, if you got a cloud that comes through and takes it during that shot, and it's kind of faded out a little bit, it'll still count the image, but it won't count it toward what it was looking at doing. So if you say, I want to do 300 images of M81 at 3 minutes each, and a cloud goes by and on one image it was doing, it still says, okay, I do the image, but for what it counting for, this target of 300 won't count against that. It still saves the image, so you can still look at it. And it will just keep going, and it will keep going until it gets to 300. So it might take 400 shots. 100 of them could be bad or, not quite the way you want them, because the way their imaging screening does. But it'll keep going until it gets 300 good shots at it. You can synchronize across multiple instances of Nina. So if you got two cameras set up on the same, like two scopes on the same mount, you can synchronize between the two. And it also supports a 24/7 sequence. So you can basically leave it as unattended operations. I can leave it on the back patio, leave it running all the time, and it'll wake up at whatever time frame you want. It'll continue on its little day. You have a project and target management area. Plugins provides target, your projects, targets, exposure plans. So what it does is It's all going to be based off of your profile in Nina. So once you create a profile, then this is going to be linked to that profile. So if you load up a different profile, so if I got one computer on my little GT71 and I've got it labeled as a profile GT71, and I create all this fancy stuff in it, and I move my computer over to my other scope, which has my C9 1/4, then if I have a profile for the 9 1/4, everything I did in the GT71, you'd have to import it in to your other profile. Or you can go through and change the GT7 profile to whatever camera you're using or whatever scope you're using and make little changes and stuff like that. It's easy to make a separate profile. So profiles, first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna if you delete the profile that has a target scheduler and everything is gonna go, it's not lost. It's just not linked to a profile anymore, so it'll show up as orphaned, and you can still recover all that and actually move it over to another profile if you have to. So you get so your profile basically is it's like a navigation tree. Your projects, targets, explicitly associated with a single linear profile, since this associated settings will likely depend on the equipment defined for that profile. So it's kind of like, this is what I got. I want everything to match what this is doing. So if you want to go change your equipment around, then some of your targets might not come out the way you want because you may have centered them a certain way. Now you're going to get a bigger, wider field of view or something like that. And it's also got the image grader in there, so it's going to kind of grade the image if it's really good or bad, if it's going to keep it count toward what you got. Projects, you're going to create a project.
How's it grade the image?
We'll get to that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that's not. So you got a project. So basically, I can define a project saying, right. So on my little scope actually on the big scope out there, I've got a project called Galaxies. And I've gone through the Messier objects on a lot of them and say, okay, that's a galaxy, add it. That's a galaxy, add it. That's a galaxy, add it. So I've gone through and added a lot of them in there. So then I just say, go play, and let it go. So you can go through a lot of the stuff on the right-hand side. You create the project, edit the project, delete the project. You can do a mosaic panel import, which means if you go through, I've got 5 panels in the framing with, I can import all those into the project. So it'll get them all in there at one time. Then you can also reset completion. So if I've set all these targets to go, give me 100 shots, and maybe it reached them all and everything was good. Well, I want to do another 100 shots. I can either go in and say, give me 200, which you already got 100, so I'll add another 100 to it. Or I can reset it all, and it'll go back to like, oh, I've never done this one. I'll do it again, even though your data's already moved off somewhere or even local piece. And you got targets, pretty much what you want to shoot. If it's a galaxy, it's a nebula. Kind of the same thing. You're going to import the target into the project, and you're going to basically set it the way you want it. You can import CSVs. I think the Telescopius, you can import CSVs in. I think you can import in from a few other places too. Stellarium. So if you got your planetarium attached to it'll talk to Stellarium, and whatever you got set up and framing in there, you can import that in there as well. Exposure plan. So I want my M81 to be shot with the tri-band filter for, give me 500 3-minute shots. Then I go, okay, now I want to do some HA03 combo, which I'm talking 1-shot color cameras, what I got. So maybe I'll use my HA03 filter and give me 5-minute shots of those, and on 5 minutes, and give me 100 of those. And I just add it into the plane. So it'll go through when it's, it'll bounce them around if you want. You can do an order of one this, or give me 10 of these and 10 of these, or however. It's pretty customizable the way you want. Or you can say, give me all these first, then give me all these second, or just say, do what you want. And you create an exposure template, which you go through to all your filters. You can specify, I have a luminance filter, give me a 30-second, 60-second, 90-second, 2-minute shot, or 3-minute, 5-minute. You can set all those up in your exposure templates. So then when you go and add your target in, you specify the exposure you want. You just go through that and list, give me that, give me that, give me that. And you can do the project organization, target organization. It's all listed in the project. You can do different priorities. You can basically say, if I've got 5 different projects and I don't want to deal with the Messier objects, and if they're all all my targets from SCA are in the SCA project. I can just go to the project and say, put it in draft mode, or I can just say, just disable it. So it will ignore that project because it's not ready for that. Then I've got another project set up for giant targets or something I put in specifically for whatever targets I want to see if it'll get these, and it'll choose something of those, or it'll go through all your whole little list of, you can, create as a high priority target, a low priority target, just the medium general target, the average. So you've got a little flexibility there if you want to try to catch up on something, add something there. And you got a scheduler preview. So basically it's a little separate section, and what it will do is basically you'll click on that and it'll try to give you a list of what it's going to try to do that night. Now it's not 100%. It's just kind of gives you an idea of what it can do, but it may not follow that exactly to the T at all. So if you look at the scheduler preview here on the left side, it's got what it's going to look like, and you get a little more details out of it. So you can go to, it's going to do a Heart and Soul Nebula, panel 2, then panel 1, then panel 3, then panel 4. Then it's going to do the Andromeda, M31, then the M42 after all that throughout the whole night. But if something's like, we darked out or whatever, it's too close to the moon, this kind of accounts for all that. So it knows where the moon location's at. If you say a moon avoidance of 60 degrees, if it's closer than 60 degrees to the moon, it'll just ignore it. So if this target here is 80 degrees away from the moon, it'll choose that one. So if you're right next to the moon or the moon's right over it, it won't select those at all. And then you can drill down into a lot more details of exactly what your plan's going to do and all that. You'll see that here shortly. These are just little quickie screenshots. Your acquired images spot, so it'll actually go through and you can see what images you already taken, and it'll give you like red, green, and blue filter. If you did that, you can just say, give me everything that's been done in the past couple of days. It'll just spit out a whole long list. You can export that out to a Excel sheet, a CSV file. So you can see what all you've been done. The image creator, basically it's looking at, it compares metrics. So the RMS guiding error, HFR, star count, and so it looks at what it's got and it'll keep rating it as it goes. So if it knows if it's going higher or lower, if it's going too far, okay, your star count's too low, I'm not going to count. I'm going to count that as a bad image. I will still keep the image so you can look at it and you still might want to use it, but I'm just going to put that aside and not count it to what it's trying to look at and on the finished project. So that's why if that cloud little goes by and maybe your stars get faded too much, and it will do automatic grading. And it can be, I've seen it where if HFR is too far high, it'll keep going and piling bad images. I've seen that happen in mine. So you may have to be a little mindful of that. You may have to go in and say, okay, fine, you drag, cause it to go do a refocus, because it's autofocus after a certain HFR change. You might be in that range to where nothing's changed after the new focus it did an hour ago or something. And then it's seen as kind of a bad image over and over and over. Takes a little play with figuring it out. But we got technical details. Got a question, anybody?
Well, yeah, basically my answer to my question is how well focused it is.
It was just like you do. It'll do your Hocus Focus. If you've got your that plugin in, or if you're using the Nina Focuser, if your HFR in the beginning gets too far out, it'll try to refocus. And sometimes when it refocuses and it's too far out, then it will go back to what it was supposed to go back to what it was before it did all that, because it recorded where it's at current starting position. So if you're in a little light cloud area that you still see some stars and you're trying to do an autofocus routine through there, it might eventually go through, okay, this is good enough. And so now you have a higher HFR, and then it'll continue on. And then it takes an image later and the image grader goes, hey, your HFR is way too high, or the star count's too low. I'm not counting it, but just continue chugging through until it finally gets it. So you might be slightly out of focus after the clouds went through it as you did an autofocus run. So you may have to go back and check in and say, hey, maybe have a different autofocus spot to say autofocus every hour, autofocus on 2 or 3 degree or 4 degree temperature change, what do you want to specify, and do autofocus if HFR is greater than 5% or 10% of where it currently started at. So if something kind of keeps creeping up, and at least every next hour or every 30 minutes or however you got, it might re-autofocus, and where it's a nice clear sky spots and know that your light, hazy clouds have now cleared out. it might get back down to where it was at and then start counting good images again. So,
Okay, gotcha.
technical details, you got a target scheduler, container operation, and this is where pretty much like the everything core and it actually works what it's using. So it uses the core instructions of Nina. It does like an internal container that runs a slew imaging instructions specific to the target and add special triggers to the internal container. You can do a custom trigger to stop execution if the internal container is at the end of time or the applicable target plans, but specifically if the expected duration of the next instruction would exceed the time limit. You can execute the external target container when it completes. It calls the planning engine again to get the next image. So if you're in the middle of, okay, my M81, I've got 300 images, and now if we got 300 images, instead of saying, I'm done for the night, I got another target, let me go. As long as I'm above my end sequence time frame of like nautical dawn or astronomical dawn, or at a certain time frame you got, it'll pick another target in that window area that's still good, and it'll start imaging that one automatically. So you don't have to go worry about anything. It's doing it all by itself. It logs everything and it'll put it under your app data, Nina scheduler plugin logs file, so you can go through and look back at what everything it's done. So it's currently at a default, so you can do a debug level. If you start having more problems, and it's got a little flexibility on the logging level. And it will basically just time date stamp the log and just continue on.
Can you remind me that most will graduate this year? Somebody buying him some buttons because they say ain't nobody buying him nothing.
Mrs. Carter needs to be muted.
Mr. Neff, so she only getting 10.
Okay,
So when I get a chance, I'm gonna make some stuff and I want you to just give it.
That sounds better. It does create a little bitty database, SQLite database to store the information. It's basically the same database that Nina uses to store local DSO catalog. They kind of like, well, we use SQLite, and everything you create in there will be in that little database. So every time it starts up, you create a backup copy of the database, so they keep the most recent copies. So if you want to back it up every night or whatever, you can just have that. Probably do a scheduled task or have another job that will go through and copy those files over. And there's a plugin location under local app data, Nina plugins, where it kind of stores, and there's a scheduler plugin, and there'll be a scheduler db.sqlite file there. That's for the database, and it's got logs. That's a folder there for logs as well. Plugins. So target scheduler is more complex than the average Nina plugin. Successful use requires that you understand the plugin concept and ensure that you have met the prerequisites listed. And here's your prerequisites. So you should be reasonably adept at using the Nina advanced sequencer, understand the concepts behind the instructions, sequence, container, triggers. So if you're new to it, your best bet is to get more familiar with how everything's interacting good and all that stuff before you tackle this, because otherwise you get lost in why is it not doing it right. It's primarily designed for DSO imagers, and you can do monochrome, astrophotography cameras, filter wheel. You can actually do it for color cameras. That's only one thing is you got to have a filter. So if you don't have a filter wheel and you got a one-shot color and you're using the little manual filter slides, you can actually go specify Nina to use the Nina's built-in little filter, which is you go in and specify, I have a filter. This is the filter I have. I got 3 different filters, and it will actually pop up a message saying to change the filter if it's going to a different filter type. I usually would just use all the same filter type for all my targets on this one system here. If I had the manual slide filter, like the filter drawers, filter trays. You should have Nina configured for at least one profile. Or describe your location, camera, filter where, all that. Your filter wheel configuration should be stable. So if you change different L to LUM, you might encounter issues with the old reference to L. So we want to give you and get your name for your filters all straightened out first before you start changing stuff later down the road to cause problems or trying to figure things out. Should be able to successfully run sessions via the advanced sequencer with this profile. Try to get rid of all your glitches and stuff. So you should be able to reliably plate solve, execute meridian flip without interventions. So what I've went through all that. So I know last year when I was doing the WR134, the Wolf Rayet Star,
Beautiful.
when I was doing about 90, 100 hours. I got over 100 hours on it, but by the time I stacked everything, I think I came out to 89 hours, somewhere around there. I mean, I had like a 2-target or 3-target sequence, advanced sequence that I was running. So it would always get to that first until I got too low. So if it got below 35 degrees from the horizon, it would go to the next target in the list. Because I would go through and manually say, okay, give me this target. Okay, what's after that? Okay, give me that target from that point on until it gets too low. Then I know this one down here, when it goes up, it'll run to astronomical dawn, whatever. And I know it's not going to run it into a tree or into the ground. That'll be my 3rd target. So I'm doing the manual way what this thing's going to do for you. So this kind of takes with that thinking, I want to do this target, this target, this target. And you just basically give it all the targets and it will figure it all out for you. But you want to make sure that you've gone through that over and over and over. It's done the meridian flip. So I'd probably look at, if you had a good run of 5, 6 different clear nights and you kind of debugged everything in your system, everything's working good, then you might start playing with little plugins for what it's going to do for you. So first steps is you want to assume that you already have installed the plugin via the NINA plugins page. There are 2 points of interaction with the plugins capability. You have the plugin homepage, which is the NINA plugins tab. It provides the UI to manage the project, target database, preview schedules, and the view metadata on acquired images. The plugin adds a single new instruction named target scheduler container that you will add to your sequence. See the advanced sequencer for details. That's why it helps to have playing with the advanced sequencer, because this is going to add that target scheduler container. And that's all you're going to use. You're not going to go through and set up, oh, give me these 4 objects or 3 objects or 2 objects. I want to do this one and this one. You're just going to do startup. You're going to hit this target scheduler container, and then you got your in sequence. So, warming your camera, parking the scope, and all that. But target scheduler container is going to do all your multiple images for you. Everything's consolidated and collected into one layer. So it's easy as 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, 5, 6. You're going to create a project, you're going to create a target, you're going to create an exposure template, you're going to add an exposure plan to your target, you're going to run a preview, then you're going to create a sequence. That's what we're going to do. So these are just the steps right out of the manual, how to create a project. And you can read that on your own. How to create a target. An exposure template. You're going to add exposure plan to your target. And you're going to run a preview. You're going to create a sequence. You're going to do the demo of the target schedule.
There you go.
And what's probably what everybody's been waiting for. Bring up. But luckily, I've done some of the stuff on my desktop here. Okay, first thing it does when NINA starts is you're going to load a profile. If you got multiple profiles, you will pick the whatever one you want as a default, or if you only got one, you can turn this off. It'll always load the default profile where you got.
Hey, John, are you think we should be seeing the demo yet?
Oh, you don't see the target scheduler, or you don't see the NINA?
No, we're still at the PowerPoint.
Okay. Oh, sure. PowerPoint. So anything after that would be questions. Oh, that's the whole screen read, not sure. Okay, see that now?
Oh yeah.
There you go.
All right, so there's the NINA, your profile. I did a little test profile. You come to the default, you can rename it or whatever. I just added a test one here. So you're going to load that profile. There we go. So you can hook your camera up. You can do a simulator. Since I don't have anything attached, this is my desktop that I'm actually running all this stuff on. So it's just sitting up here. But otherwise, you'd have anything you'd have attached to it. It would automatically go discover and see that, okay, you want to choose whatever you want. So you'd pick whatever you needed. You got a filter wheel. So there's the manual filter wheel. You got to have at least a manual one or a actual filter wheel for the target schedule to use. You got a focuser, so you can do automatic focusing. You really want to have that. If you want a rotator, you got a rotator here, so it'll connect to it. I don't have a rotator. There's your mount, so it'll connect to your mount. It'll connect to PhD guiding or whatever guide you want to select. So there's your little choices. You got switches, gauges. You got a flat panel. You can add that in there. Weather station, you can add that in there. I think you can also do an online weather spot to add in. You got open weather map, the weather company, and weather underground right out of the gate. But if like the Pocket Power Box, it'll show up here. If you got the driver installed, it'll show up and you can select it as your weather source. Then you got dome control. And you also got safety monitor to where it's more for a dome or roll off roof observatory, especially if you have clearance issues. You want to make sure that it is safe to unpark the scope. It is safe to move the scope. If the roof is rolling back and is down low and you don't have you got to have your telescope sitting like flat instead of sticking straight up, sitting on its side, so it won't hit the roof. You want to make sure that gets cleared and all that. So you can put a little different safety monitor. To the left side, there's a Sky Atlas. You got the framing, Flat Wizard. You've got the sequencer. There's your imaging layout. This is kind of a default imaging layout. So all the little red X's here because everything's not connected. There's your options for your profiles and go through things. Then you got the plugins. These are available plugins. There's quite a few listed. And then right above it's what it's installed. So I got the target planning installed. And I got a target scheduler installed. So if we look at target scheduler, you'll see that here's our target management, scheduler preview, and acquired images. So I don't think I've acquired any images with this desktop. So there's not going to be nothing there. Scheduler preview. And there's nothing, well, there will be there, but so we go look at our target manager. So you have a profile. There's your under profiles, we have a test profile. Here's the default profile. Here's our test profile. Well, under test profile, I have a horse head there. There's the horse head. So this will go through, and so your test is basically, it shows the state's active, normal priority, minimum time. It gives you, I want to do 4 hours minimum time. It's not going to use this project unless it knows it can get 4 hours of time on target. I got it right here, default, I think it's 30 minutes. So you say, I know I got 30 minutes of time. It will allow to use this project. So it knows to go 30 minutes to get your data that you horse head target. So it's basically, you'll see the minimum time in there, and there's a minimum altitude. You can define that. I used to use 30 degrees, but I've noticed everything starts to fade in between 30 and 35. So I kind of bumped up to 35 now. If you have a custom horizon, you would want to make sure that is true. Meridian window, 0 hours, minutes before it's supposed to flip. You can do a filter switch frequency. So you can specify, you can rotate the filter around after 1 image, 2 image, 5 image, 10 images, especially if you're doing RGB, like LRGB. So maybe you want to do 30 minutes worth of red, green, and blue, and you're doing 1 minute shots. So you're going to do 30 of each one of those. Then you're going to do like 500 1 minute shots of luminance. You can come through here and say 0, and I think it'll just pick one, do all of them, pick another one, do all of them, pick one, do all of them. Or you can say, give me 10 of them. So it'll rotate through and say, give me 10 luminance. Right after that, it'll switch over to do the next 10 of red or green or blue. So you have control how well it wants to use filter. And that really comes into play when you dither. It's like you think about, okay, I'm gonna take a shot of this, I'm gonna dither all over the place. Now I'm gonna do a different filter and dither all over the place. third filter, fourth filter, whatever. So now when you're trying to stack all these together, you got to make sure that each set's done. Now you got to star align all your sets of your filters. But if I go in through and say, give me, if I'm going to dither after every 3 images, I take 3 luminous, switch the red filter, do 3, switch to the green, do 3, switch to the blue, do 3, then dither. All 3 sets are going to be will be identical in how they dither, because it doesn't dither until after the 3 are done. So then when you think about it, when it's done stacking everything, all your stacks should already be star aligned because they're all the same. So it's got a little play with that. So I've got 2 panels here, IC 434 panel 1. So there's your coordinates enabled as true. You can actually go through and just basically edit this and say it's turn it off so it won't use that one specific image underneath the target, or I can keep it turned on, save that.
Did you
There's
create?
kind of one I'm doing.
I mean, did you? I mean, those 2 targets or panels.
Yeah.
You had you had to tell it which ones. I mean, the location.
No, when you look at the mosaic project, it's true down here. When you go into the target sequence scheduler, for Nina, you go look it up. You go to the framing wizard. That's where you set however you want. You can it'll import all those in here.
I got you.
So I said it. So and so I was thinking, I was like, man, I'm going to have to recreate 63 panels for the Barnard's loop.
Yeah.
But there's actually a way you can cheat code it basically to bring them all in one shot. But then you got to go through and put in your exposure sets. And there's actually a copy paste you can do between all the panels too. So you don't have to worry about trying to go through, select all these, and all that. You just copy it and then paste it in the other.
Gotcha.
So exposure, so in their exposure templates, you got under my test one. So I've created here's an L60, there's an L90, there's my Aunt Leo HA03, SB, that's the S2 and hydrogen and beta. Tri-band filter, L Pro. And there's my L enhanced filter. So you can go in and specify, there's a name of it is filter number 1, exposure 60 seconds. You can do different bendings on it, acceptable twilight, I got it set for nighttime. Moon avoidance, right now it's set classical avoidance is false. You can turn it on to say, okay, if it's within 60-degree separation, it'll use it. If it's too close to the moon, if it's like 50 degrees from the moon, it will just say, oh, you're too close to the moon, I'm not going to use that. And then you got avoidance, relaxation, so you can play with little settings here and there. So maybe you don't want 60, you can actually edit that out. Maybe I want to do 40 or something like that. So you turn it on, and you can specify maybe it's 45. So now we go to the chest. We can go ahead. Now we can create a project, edit the project, get the project a name. M31. Leave it in draft at the moment because you can actually do this while your scope is live, picking targets and doing it. You can go ahead and add more stuff to it, and so you want to probably keep it in draft until you're done. So you got draft mode, you've got active, inactive, or closed. So keep it in draft. Priority, you can do low, normal, or high. If the default is normal. 30 minutes. Maybe I want to make sure it's got at least 2 hours of time. Minimum altitude, I want to make sure it's 35. You can do the custom horizon going through. You can, if you don't like the image grid, you can always turn it off. So it'll just take whatever it's got. It's going to add the image in. We'll keep that off at the moment. Flat handling. So if you want to do flat runs at the end, you can add those in. So we'll just save that. Now we can add a target. What you want to do is go over here to your Sky Atlas, go to M31. We want to set for framing. Wait till it pulls it in. I got a 10-degree field of view here. So then you can move this around. So if I don't want Andromeda, but I want these pair of stars, it'll pick that. So as you're moving this around, you'll see the RA and deck are moving around with it. So if I want over here, maybe I only want half of it, or I want down here, I want this. I got a rotator, or I know my camera is 90 degrees off from everybody else. The way I put it on the back of the scope, so you can come over here and put 90 degrees, and now I got that. So I know that works. So I can leave it one thing like that. You can go over here to the plugins, go back to your target scheduler. You can come over here now. We're going to edit it. We're going to go to the import coordinates. And if you do, you can do it manually, need a catalog, or hit the little framing assistance button back there. And now it has imported in from the framing assistant. Then you're going to save it. You can actually, well, if you want to add an exposure to it, so that defaults to whichever one you created first. And let's say I don't want the luminance 60, maybe I want luminance 90. Now this is where you're going to pick what you want to use. So let's say I only a tri-band or red, green, or blue. How many do you want desired? Let's say I want 500. Accepted is what it's going to give you. So as it goes through and takes images of it, if it grades it and says it was bad, it'll still show the acquired number going up, but it won't show that it accepted. If it accepts the image out of those, that count will continue to increase higher until it reaches that 500. And you go through save that. Now you have M31, and you got M31 as the target. You know, you have to say, "Oh, I made a mistake here. I'm gonna go back over here and rename this to put SCA targets." Save that. So now we got Messier targets. You already got M31 there. So now you can go back, and we can go Sky Atlas. Pick M3, which should give us M33, except for framing assistance.
This is all while you're imaging too.
Yeah, you can do it live while it's going. This is just on my little PC here. But yeah, as this thing is going, you can add more targets. And you can go through and say, okay, this whole set was done. I can delete all those out. I can get rid of all that if you want, or I can reset it so I can add more to it. So let's say you did a schedule for a target to do 10 hours of data. Well, it got that 10 hours of data like in 3 nights. You're like, well, maybe I want to double that. So you can go back and reset that. So it'll add it back. So it'll pick it again to get another 10 hours of data. You can do it the 2 different ways. You can either edit and say, give me whatever your calculation you did to give it 10 hours, just double that number of exposures. And then it'll go back and pick up the next. It knows that, well, now you got 200 instead of 100. Well, I'll go back and it'll start adding to that count again as it selects it. Here we got M33. Go back to your plugin. We can come over here. We're gonna. We want to go ahead and add. So we're gonna edit. We're going to framing wizard. There's our M33. So whatever you had in the framing wizard there, current, is what's going to import over here. Then we're going to go down and click on exposure. Let's see, I want to do 90-second luminance. And I want 100 of it. And then save it. So now it's got 2 targets. So I can go over to the horse head and say, give me edit this, active, and say it's inactive. So now I'll only go through and pick the Messier target project because it's the one that's, well, once I change it from draft to active. So now we will pick this targets in this list here. Now let's see if I can remember how to do a freaking mosaic. I did it once before. Add another target in. We'll add in those mosaics. Save that. Go back to our lovely Sky Atlas. North American Nebula. Set for framing. Now, of course, it's going to make a liar out of me. I know I've done it. Now let's see if I can do it again. It's been a while since I played with this, since I did the presentation. Let's say we want to do 2x2. You move it around however you want to frame it. So if you want to get the extra data over here, maybe you want to frame it this way. Maybe you don't want 20%. Maybe you want 15%. So we're going to get this data over here plus the Pelican, North American, regional HA data down here, over here. So you want to frame it the way you want. So okay, that looks good. Don't need to worry about rotation. So you got 4 panels down here. Should be able to go over to here. Since we know this is a mosaic, we should go up, add, edit. It's only going to import the one doing that. Oh, how that? There we go. Now we got, once you click on your project, you click over to the button here to add in your 4 panels or 6, however many panels you had specified there, they'll be all listed. Say yes or no on that.
Well,
Now it's already given you.
that's how you
Delete that.
Bernard.
So now here's your panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, and panel 4.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go through, we can edit this. We want to give it an exposure plan. Let's say I want to give it HAO3, 500. And I can go through and save that. Come back over here, copy this over here, paste it. And you can edit it wherever you want. Enable on or off. So you can go over here, paste it, go over here, paste it. So now I've got the same for all of your targets. So once you got one panel the way you want on the exposure template, if I can, if you're like, okay, maybe I want to do edit that, I want to add in, maybe I want to do the HB side as well. Maybe I want to do 500 of those. Gonna be busy month. Save those, so now we can go here and press the copy button over here and paste. But now it's to adding that other one in, so we'll have to edit it to delete the original. We can delete them all, then we can paste. Delete, yes. Delete, yes. So now you got 2 listed for each one. You got your mosaic put in. We come over here in draft mode, edit that. They give me active. Give me a minimum altitude of 35. We can want to do at least 3 hours, maybe. Image creator's on mosaic. It knows it's a mosaic. Save that. Go through, add what you want. So if you have a big mosaic, you can add all the panels in one shot. Be done with it. Now we can go farther down. So scheduler preview, and all you gotta do is specify current time, profile is test, and we just say run. So it's gonna wait until a certain time to be able to do something. So it's wait until 05 for whatever reason. Go back. Okay, most of these targets not even up yet. So let's go pick a target. He's up. That's good. Set for framing. It's kind of tiny. There's our M81, M82. I may say I want to get these other stuff here too as well. These for SMGs. got that. We go over to plug in, go back to that target plane, target scheduler. Let's go back up. For the mosaic, we're gonna add in those 4 panels. Now you got your other 4 panels, M81, 82, panel 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to edit, give an exposure, luminance of 90 seconds and do 500. Save that, copy, paste, paste. Okay, so we're doing 1.5 minutes. We got mosaics. Back over to part. So now it's going to pick under mosaics, M81 panel 4. And it's gonna slew rotate and center. It's gonna switch to filter 1 because I only got 1 filter here. Otherwise, whatever filter you specified, it's like on your filter wheel, it'll switch to filter, and then it'll start taking exposures.
Hmm.
And then it'll pick second panel here, or it's actually panel 4, and it will pick up and do all those. And with these other ones, it'll just wait because they're not available yet. That's not 100% guarantee what it's going to do. You might actually end up with panel 3 and panel 1. It's actually showing panel 4 twice. But it might pick a different panel. It might pick 2 different panels. So this is just pretty much to give you an idea of what it's going to look like, and you can view the details. So it's going to wait. It's going to start. Wait until a certain time, usually astronomical dawn or astronomical dusk. Then it's going to look at the target considered, PM33 is not visible, not yet visible, and all that. And down here's panel 4. It's going to pick that one because that one's available and start to go. Now you get this lovely database of different targets. Now what are you going to do with it? So now we have a sequencer. What you're going to do is you're going to choose an advanced. And you can build a as a quickie sequence. I had copied a bunch of crap over to just give you an idea what a sequence might look like. So here's my beginning sequence. So it's going to go through and wait till astronomical dusk. And it's going to basically, when that time frame is met, it's going to unpark the scope. It's going to start cooling the camera. It's going to cool down to 0 degrees for 5 minutes. So it's going to take 5 minutes, and it'll take its time to get down to 0 degrees. Or you can specify whatever you want here. You want to do minus 10 degrees or whatever. Then it's going to actually go to this target, which is NGC 5033. And it's going to basically go down. It's not ready for meridian flip. It's going to center after a drift. So if you're dithering quite a bit, go too far away, it's going to come back to, well, you're too far from center. It's going to recenter your object and still continue on. It's going to restore guidance to get guidance going. It's going to run autofocus. It'll slew and center to that target. Then it's going to start It's going to start guiding. You can actually force calibration on. So basically, it's like you just set your guiding up for the first time. It will actually go through and walk it north, south, east, and west. And then once it starts, it'll pick a guide, start and continue on, and they get past that point. You got to autofocus after HFR increase. So it'll look at like the last 10 images, and it will look at if it's increased by 8% amount, it'll do another it'll trigger autofocus. And it will loop this until nautical dawn. Or you can do astronomical dawn. You can do sunrise, you can do meridian. And then it's gonna come down here and do 1 exposure, 120 seconds. And it's going to dither every 3 frames. Well, you're saying, well, I got my exposure. But once it takes this 1 exposure, it's going to loop back around and say, well, it's not time for meridian flip. Go into the recenter. Guiding's already going. We already did an autofocus. We already did a slow and center. Guiding's already going. We didn't match that. Oh, we haven't matched that either. Take the next exposure. It would just loop it and do exposures after exposure until it reaches, at this point, nautical dawn. So you might end up with 30, 40, 50, 500. It's kind of like a hodgepodge. And when it gets done, you got an end sequence down here. So you have a warm the camera, take 5 minutes, and these are all done in parallel. So it'll actually it'll start warming the camera, it'll stop the guiding, and it'll park the scope. So your scope will be parked while it's still warming the camera. and then you're done for the day. So now you're looking at, well, what happens if I have this fancy target scheduler I got? Let's come over here. Let me see if it's over here. Yeah, this is just a normal template. Let me copy it over. But you can, any questions you got, you get time for right now.
That looks pretty familiar to me. I use the advanced sequencer, so
Yeah, one time, let me find the other one I got, and you'll see the differences between the two.
okay.
So smoke if you got them.
Can you use that image quality to move on to another target if stars are decreasing? So assuming like the clouds came in, it sees less stars. It makes it.
I think if it gets to the point to where it can't image it and it can't redo it, it'll pick another target. But if you're slowly clouds coming through and they're really light and it can still see it, it'll continue imaging until the point whereas it can't see it at all. It tries to recenter the object and it can't, and if something fails, it'll pick a different target.
Mhm.
I have copied these already over here, but apparently not. Scheduler sequence. Okay, so now it's still got a beginning sequence you can add in. So let's go wait until astronomical desk. Astronomical desk. And still is going to unpark the scope to cool the camera. And this one here, I got set to -10, duration 7 minutes. And it's got a target. This here I put in basically for autofocus and guiding calibration. So I went in and added, I would go select the targets going to be near what I'm looking at doing, or just, near the meridian. And, find your perfect spot to where you'd want to do a image or your guiding calibration. So do autofocus calibration. Then it's going to do so here's your target scheduler container. So look at that. It's all empty. You're like, what the hell is this thing doing? There's nothing there. So you have triggers down here. So it's going to, you can center after drift, however you want. Restore the guide, and you add these in. You can do the autofocus after HFR increase. If your target you have goes down, and your next target that you have that it finds that if you only have 2 targets in your list, so it picks target 1, it's going down. Target 2 doesn't come up for another hour. It'll park the scope and wait until that target is available above the 35 degrees. Then it will pick back up and pick that new target and continue on. So if you've had a bunch of targets listed and then there's a gap in the sky somewhere, it knows. So it knows that, okay, all these targets I can't get because they're too low. None of these here that you haven't risen high enough yet, so I'll wait. So it'll park the scope and wait. When it gets to the point where it's okay, I can get to that target, it'll unpark the scope and it'll go to that target. So basically, after the wait instruction, you say unpark the scope, and it will do a slow and center to that new target. And you can actually do before new target instructions. You can do after new target instructions. You know, there's a lot in here that you'd want to put in to where it's okay. You can go as far as I can close the roof because it got too cloudy, whatever, and it can always check later and reopen the roof up and go, okay, let me look. You know, that's like more of an advanced way you want to do it, but it'll leave it open. If it, you know, if it begins raining, they can wrap the whole night if you're done. And they can, if you got it set to where it'll close your roof, it'll close the roof. But you have to go here and specify what you want to do before and afterwards. But this will always be empty here until you actually run the sequence. When you run this down here, which is not going to do anything for me, it'll pick a target that is available, and it's trying to pick the best target it can for you to image away from the moon. If you've got moon avoidance on, high in the sky. You know, if it's got this 3-hour time frame, you know, for your imaging window, it's going to make sure it's got that, or maybe a 30-minute window, whatever. It's going to pick something that's what you're looking for, and it will populate this automatically. It'll automatically slew and center to it. So some of the default things you had to specify in the advanced sequence, this will do it automatically for you. It's built into the image sequence itself. So this scheduler container has that built into it. So it'll pick a target, it'll slew and center to it, and these are the same thing triggers you have for like you had in the other one. It'll go through. Oh, you have to, you know, continue on until it reaches those number of images that you want. And you still got the end sequence down here. So this is the parallel instructions. So you see the one going to mini 3. So these are all 3 go in parallel, whereas you might have a sequence up here. So these are a straight. So it's going to do this one. I got parallel instructions. So unpark the scope and cool the camera. Otherwise, if it was a sequential one, it's going to unpark the scope, then it will cool the camera. You know, so it's do them both at the same time or one after the other. So you might have a long wait in here or like right now it's waiting until astronomical dusk. So it's not going to do anything until astronomical dusk. Astronomical dusk is here. Unpark, cool the camera. You can actually I usually start cooling the camera when I connect to my telescope and I got everything ready to go out there. I do an initial focus manually. You know, manually go in here and hit the under imaging. You can spark a autofocus here, right at the North Pole, you know, to Polaris area, and get a start your good focus to begin with. So I don't maybe not want to do an autofocus later, you know, right out of the gate. I can get that done out of the way while I'm waiting for astronomical dusk. I can cool the camera down. So even though my instructions are in there, it'll see that, oh, I'm astronomical dusk, go. Scope's already in park, check. Cool camera, it's already at minus 10 degrees. It'll just fly right through it. So you're not being held up by waiting all that. Then it'll go down and pick this spot. I can take out the autofocus if I'm doing that. And then it'll start guiding calibration like it's fresh out of the box for PhD2. I'll come down here and check for not maybe for mirror and flip or anything, so there's no target or anything like that. And it'll pick a target, slow and center, off and run. So comes in hand. If you want to go through, so over on the right hand side here, you have the different instruction sets. So you got for the camera, you cool the camera, you can do the dew heater on the camera, you can set the readout mode, you can do USB limits, smart exposure, taken exposure, mini exposures, you warm the camera, you can do your dome control, you can do filter switches, you can do a flat device. The other cool thing is, since this is all live and running and continuing, you can actually add instructions as it's running. So if you want to do something specific, like I may have to go and I forgot to put in the manual, swap the filter out. Well, I can actually go down in here and find a pause or put in a do nothing for like 10 minutes or something. And then go out there, change the filter, and come back, and then until I can delete that instruction, then it will go to the next one. And they'll do a lot. You can send external scripts. So you would put an external script if you want to do a copy or something like that. You do message boxes. You can actually run this out to the Discord server if you have an account and everything like that. And you basically you can go in and put annotations in of what it's everything he's doing, and it'll write it out to the Discord server or to a log file or wherever you want to put it. So you can have a whole summary of what it's done. Okay, you knew at this time you did all this stuff and you did all that stuff like that. So it's really, really versatile. You can get lost in a lot of these things. You can find yourself in a trap. You can try to figure out why is it doing certain things a certain way. Why is it not doing something right? Because you have an instruction you're explaining on to do something else. That's why it helps to get all that stuff ironed out first in a normal advanced sequence. And then you're ready to basically put in the target schedule. And then give it a bunch of targets and let her fly. I mean, I just, on my little bitty scope, I went through and actually on my Edge 9.25, I put in a bunch of Messier Galaxy objects. So, and the first one I picked was M81. So that's how, what I just posted in the Slack channel a couple days ago was that was the first target it chose was M81. It only did like about 3 hours or so of it. Then it picked another target after that, and that was, what target was that? Let's go pick the Pleiades first to start out. Did good. Then I had camera connection issues. They kept on dropping the camera on it. I was had to reconnect. So everything after that was pretty much trash. But the big scope was still picking M81. When it picked, what did it pick after that? You didn't get a whole lot of them. Trying to get used to redoing my telescope pick layout. So it's 2025. So this is the last one. So I picked the M108 surfboard, and the little scope picked the Needle Galaxy, and they came out looking like trash. They kept on disconnecting the camera because I think it's a power issue. So that's a little bit of Needle Galaxy there. But you see it's kind of like slightly out of focus. It's driving. So that's pretty much all garbage. And the M108 surfboard, it got 26 of the 2-minute shots. And I got to get you can look over here. I'm running a M48 down to 1.25 into the back of the focuser of the scope to the Beta diamond steel track focuser. And I've got an adapter coming to go M48 into a 2-inch focuser. So they should get rid of my lovely vignetting here all the way around. But you can barely make out the surfboard there. And none of that's stacked. And there was like a light haze rolling through. So I think I get used to now of a 49.8 megabyte file instead of the 17.2 meg. So this is my 533 camera with a smaller sensor. And this is the Player One APS-C size sensor. So it's 51 meg, 49.8 meg in size. Still got about almost 2 terabytes of free space on my download box that I use for everything else is where these are all hidden out at. The other thing else I put in the projects, so I'm trying to get my reorganization stuff done. I'm used to doing it every night, data. Now I'm trying to go over to projects. So here's the Loads Galaxy M for my 9.25. So I was able to pick up with the tri-band filter, I was able to get 139 images. And I was able to create that. So you can tell I kind of cropped out a lot of the vignetting and try to get this image up pretty good. I'm kind of, this is my own little internal struggle of, well, let me go just create a projects folder and then whatever I use, whatever I do, I'll just put it over here. And anything with like a little brackets that got like 16 plus hours of data in it already. The Barnard's Loop, which I have. I did my test run at M42, which was 8 panels, and I missed panel 1, which was the horse head flame that is part of the horse head. And then I've got the look at panel 1, panel 5, 14, 36, 42, 48, 49, 50, 30, 55, 50, 54, 55, 56, 60, 61, 62, 63. So that's what it shows itself over several nights of the Barnard's Loop. It just, whatever it was peaking in the southwest corner of the, if you look at Orion straight on, so it'd be like the bottom right corner area where all those pounds were at. It was picking a lot of, working its way up through all that. So next year when it comes back around, it'll probably start picking up the upper 6, 7 as it comes up first, the right side of it, top right, it'll start picking a lot of those panels and doing all those, and they'll slowly work its way over. This is going to be more of a long-term project.
Looks good. That plugin is very complex.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it gets tricky. There is also a target planner planning plugin he's got to kind of help you on. This will go through and shows you when your target's available through the month and all that stuff. I haven't really played with it a whole lot, but you can complement the other one, the target scheduler. So this kind of gives you a planning session to say what is M81, where is it at? Instead of just going over to the Sky Atlas and picking something that this up, till you see it show up, you don't know. Like M33 or M31, now it's just after astronomical dusk. Then you're looking at, it's below 30 degrees. It won't come back up until morning time. So you're just like, when's this one going to be available? You can come over here to the planner and try to add in what to do. I can get the coordinates. Bring it up there. Bringing a little image up. Down, maybe something like that. So you can actually look at the annual chart that tells you, the nighttime sets when it's going to rise up high. So you're looking at June time frame, it starts coming up. So you're looking at August, it'll start getting above 30 degrees and then come back down below 30 degrees in late December. Just you can do an imaging season. This just helps you kind of choose the targets you want. Whereas I just do a shotgun approach right now of the Messier targets and just load them all in. I just chose trying to go through and pick all the galaxies out for the 9 1/4 and let it figure it out. So your imaging season, you're looking at between May down to April through the whole thing. You see what's available. Your daily details gives you how much imaging time you got, moon illumination, the moon angle. So you can use this to figure out when you want to put it in your normal planning. If you're not using a target scheduler, you can use this and say, hey, we're going to be up this month. Maybe I'll start shooting that. So I'm to go to Stellarium and look around. I always bring Stellarium up and you go through and look at, like tonight, and I'll go, that's good. I can run that to there. What's farther coming. And since we're getting to galaxy season, everything is, little scope is going to be pretty much picking some of the little bit bigger galaxies to try to get stuff like the needle galaxy a little bit bigger. We can actually see it. Whereas a 9 1/4 is going to be in your face with that needle galaxy and all the others.
Okay, well, we want to make sure we have some time to deal with Sanitas. You got anything else you want to cover?
I'm good to go here. I'm done.
Now, can you put, like you did last time, can you put your presentation on the Slack channel?
Yeah.
And I will obviously I'll upload the video, but your PowerPoint you can upload on the Slack channel, and I'll get the video out in the next day or so. John, thank you. good job.
No problem.
As always, very thorough. So Nina, you had a request that you wanted to have us ponder.
Are you able to hear me? Because I have lost the video.
Oh no.
Well, I have basically lost being able to see myself over here, and I'm not able to see anybody else, but I was able to see the presentation.
Can you sign off and then sign back on real quickly because you had some.
Okay, but do you just want me to share my screen? Let me see whether this works first.
Yeah, if you can, if you do that, that'll meet your needs, I think. Go ahead.
Yes. Um,
Hey, Meryl, real quick, where do you want to put that in the Slack channel? Which channel option?
Well, astrophotography. Well, yeah. No, we have a Nina. We have a Nina sub channel.
Yeah, we do. There we go. Throw it there.
That'd be a good one. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. I think Nina. I mean, I said Nina.
yes. I'm trying to, share my screen. I want to open up PowerPoint. Let me open up PowerPoint. I have it open. Okay, here. Now I just need to share my entire screen. Okay, so it's not allowing me to hit the share button.
Steve. I mean, it should be green at the bottom. I mean, it should.
Yeah, at the very bottom in the middle.
Yes, I'm able. I mean, I did find the share button. It's just I'm able to click on it. I can see it, but then when I have to share, that particular button is grayed out. So
Well,
let me just log out and let me sign in again to see whether that fixes
Yeah,
it.
that's what I would do.
we'll just wait for you to come back.
Okay.
Steve, have you seen the weather forecast for next Saturday?
No.
Clear.
Ah, all right.
It's probably going to jinx it, but Friday's mostly cloudy, but Saturday's clear. And I don't think there's any significant rain between now and then, which would be good. Of course, you got your fancy weather forecaster, but Astropheric and some of the other ones I have looks this far out, probably not worth anything, but certainly a good indication we might be okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Messier Marathon at Astro Flats.
Friday looks better.
Does it really?
Yeah, does on mine. Let's see. The Friday, the what? What are we talking about? The 20? No, the 20. What date are you talking, Meryl?
Well, I think it's 28th and 29th is what you
Oh,
have.
28th. Okay.
No, this Friday, yeah, looks better. But it's the one out.
Yeah, next Friday. Yeah, it's just that's way too early. It's so early to tell. It's not even.
Well, we can take what when we get a good forecast, we'll take it.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Are we looking at whose screen? There's Sunita's screen.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sunita is muted, so she needs to unmute before she talks.
Sunita, we need to have you turn on your microphone. Oh, we lost her again. Oh, no, she is. There she is. Turn. Can they unmute?
Audio.
There you go. Okay, we can hear you. There you go.
Okay, so this is my screen.
And we saw your screen for a minute.
Okay, here.
There we go.
All right.
Okay, so I mean, the reason that I wanted to talk about the eclipse is that the end of next month, I plan to go to Barcelona for a meeting. So I was just thinking while I was there, maybe I could just take the train down. So are you able to see my pointer? So here is Barcelona. If I take the train down, I'll be right at this place known as Pensacola, and that's right at the middle of the eclipse path. So the next total solar eclipse will be August 12th, 2026, and it's going to pass through Spain. it's not going to be as long as our last eclipse. It's only going to be for 2 minutes and 36 seconds or something like that. But I was thinking about this place for kind of 2 reasons. A, it'll be very close to Mallorca where the weather is supposed to be best, and I'm going to show you that in the next slide. But also it allows us to drive, so we get both these options available. It's going to be August 12th, and it's going to be really late. It's going to start at 8:26 p.m. and I just checked. Sunset in Spain will be 9:16 p.m. And the sun will be very low on the horizon. But if the weather holds, it'll be amazing because we'll be able to see sunset over the water.
Rick
Then
says you got the perfect idea there.
I
yes,
think
and
that would be
also because-
sunrise on the water there.
Isn't this west?
That's east.
That's east, yeah.
You have to go up to the northern part on the water side.
Okay.
You're gonna see it over the mountain range or whatever, mountainside.
Okay, so that means if you go to Palma, then you'll be able to see it over the water.
Correct.
So it's just that basically going to Mallorca will be really expensive, especially during eclipse time, right?
Oh yeah.
But this place will be, it will kind of give people an option to go here, but also to travel around here because the things with the clouds, right? How basically Texas was supposed to have the best weather, and then what happened, right? It was completely clouded out.
That's right.
So I was thinking because over here you're basically stuck. If you get any clouds, you're basically going to be stuck or be very expensive. Whereas if you're over here, you do have the option to drive if you want to. So my next slide is
Well,
looking at the
Sabina, do you
weather.
know
So
how high the sun will be when the eclipse will occur, like 20 degrees above the horizon, or?
I don't know the exact degree. I just know it's going to be low just because it's 6:30. Did I say 6:36?
Well, that's pretty important information for your planning because look at those mountains. And if some of these mountains might block it.
You mean over here,
Yeah, over there.
this region?
Right. There's some elevation things happening there, right?
That's right. That's right. So you're saying this probably is kind of not a good location?
Well, if you're above 30, if the sun's gonna be like 30, 35, then you're fine probably. But that's just something you got to study.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the time frames you got of 8:33 ending, starting 8:26, and your sunset's at 9:16. That's gonna be pretty low. So you might want to look at maybe a little more inland that's up higher elevation. And you can go a little bit longer.
So, okay, so basically look at the elevation along this path and then pick something.
Right.
Yeah, like Alaga,
Yeah.
whatever that is, ALIAGA,
Yes,
might be a little better. It looks like it's going to be a little bit higher elevation there.
Aliaga.
Yeah, or even the one after that,
And be ready to,
Calamocha.
yeah.
Calamocha.
Yeah. You got a
Okay.
great arsenal of cities that you can
Yeah.
drive to as needed.
Yes,
Ariza. I love your plan starting on one side, moving to the other.
yeah. Then I was also looking at this. So this is the cloud, so the cloud forecast. And the reason I picked this because it's got the lowest amount of clouds, but I see all around this area has got low clouds as well. It's only once you go here when you can see, the cloud forecast
You're really
is
clouded there.
heavier.
So this is average. This is mean August cloud amount.
Yes.
So this is average clouds you get in August.
Yes, and this is
Yeah.
according to Eclipsophile.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's yeah. That means the chances are be pretty clear there in that region.
Yeah, so all along this path is basically drivable, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing what I was doing is I was kind of looking at hotels, and for this place, Pensacola, you have these really great places right across the water. But after some time, it's going to get really expensive. But I also wanted to book places where it's easy to cancel, because, with the Eclipse, or be able to cancel without a week and not lose money, and, things like that. So you can see these places are basically fully refundable. You can reserve now, pay later, which is perfect.
Sure.
Because after some time, in about maybe 6 months or so, things will get really expensive. And also at this time, hotels.com doesn't even allow you to make bookings. So I think the bookings only go till August 2nd. So I'm just waiting for August 12th to become open and then see. But also when I'm in Spain, I would like to go to these different places and just have a look at them. Just to see, because there will be places that may not be advertised. However, we do want something that we can cancel just because of the cloud forecast.
Well, if you want to do it on the cheap, I bet there's a lot of hostels throughout that area.
Yes, but
They're
I
not
was-
pleasant.
right, but some of those hostels may not be online, right?
Most of them probably won't be. Well, my information's from the 70s.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, these are just nasty places that you stop, and sometimes you pay a penny. You don't have to pay anything.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And I was also wondering, how many people from our group would like to come for this eclipse?
Like to.
We would like to
Like
come.
to. Barcelona is a beautiful place. So if you, but I like to, but probably not gonna work.
Why not?
What day is it on?
It's on Wednesday, August 12th.
Okay, August 12th. Yeah.
That's my wife's birthday and my son's
Wednesday,
anniversary.
August 12th.
I
Road
got
trip.
And road trip. Yeah.
Well, you can fly into Madrid or Barcelona, either one of those, and
Barcelona.
Yeah, and from Barcelona to Pensacola is just a 3-hour train ride. So that's what I was thinking of doing. I was just planning to, catch the train, go to Pensacola, and then also probably go to Aliaga and just have a look at those places.
you rent a car. Maybe rent a car.
Yes, so it's on the right side of the road, right? So Europe is still right side of the road.
Yeah,
It's only England that's on the left,
Yeah,
right?
that's correct. Yes. It'll be just like America.
It'll be just
Mhm.
like America, okay.
Probably a little bit more narrower streets.
that's right.
I'm waiting to hear from the Exploratorium.
Rick, they might send you there, right?
There's your partner there. So
Rick is our professional astronomer.
Yeah,
Cindy.
Rick, do you think there's any chance I'd be able to tag along with you?
what? Yeah, I want to answer.
It doesn't hurt to ask.
No, I want to hear this answer.
So, absolutely. Well, provided I go, absolutely.
Absolutely. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, the Exploratorium hasn't called me about it yet. I don't know if they're going to get funding. They have to get funding. Once they get funding, they typically send 2 teams. I don't know where they'll put me, but that's what we did with the last one. We had a team in Texas and a team in Mexico. I was at the team in Mexico, and we were cloudy right up until the moment of the eclipse, and then the clouds parted. Texas was clear right up until the eclipse and clouded out. So it was a lot of fun, but I don't know. I haven't heard from them yet whether they're going to get funding for this one.
So they go to that slide that has the clouds.
But I like your plan. The key thing is to be mobile.
Yes.
If there's a mountain, don't worry about it. Get on top of it. It's
Yes. Yes.
just and go
Yes,
where the
I've got,
clouds aren't.
right. I've got all my hiking gear as well.
Yeah. So no, it's an excellent plan. So I like it. You know what's important.
Well,
So
and yeah, I mean, I was also hoping there would be at least kind of a little group from the Memphis Astronomical Society so that we can go. But even if nobody else wants to come, I would love to join you, Rick.
oh,
And I'd be able to, be a little bit away from the main crowd and all that stuff. So I won't interfere.
oh, that's not a problem. Trust me, Jeremy Veltman didn't get in the way. There's no way you will.
Yeah.
So
Well, you got to put something on the Slack channel just to say, hey, be thinking about it.
yeah,
Yeah, if you do the research, we have a better chance of like flight out of Memphis or flight out of Little Rock or flight out of Nashville, to Barcelona, wherever.
Right.
And then you can take it from there.
Yeah. So next month, I mean, my flight, I'm going to be flying out from DC to Barcelona, but it was only $800. It's only $800. So
it's
it's
not
not
bad.
too expensive. I mean, I'm sure that, all those trips that, what is the name of the person who flew to, from Memphis to all the way to Burlington? We had basically one person in our group, the last president, flew from Memphis to Burlington. I'm sure that flight would be at least as expensive as, basically being able to book a ticket early to go from Memphis to Barcelona.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
Because that flight must have been really expensive.
Not just the expense, it's a long flight.
Yes, but it's going to be the solar eclipse, right?
Well,
Yeah, it's a 7 to 8 hour flight across the Atlantic, period, no matter where you're going. So, and it's probably not a direct flight from
no.
here from here to Spain,
Not
Amsterdam, or something like that.
right. I mean, so not from Memphis, right?
Yeah,
I flew from Barcelona home to Atlanta, then Memphis.
yeah,
It was a direct flight from Barcelona to Atlanta.
not bad.
But I was thinking it was nearer 10 hours, but maybe going west against the jet stream. I don't remember, but
It can be, yeah.
it's
Well, Barcelona's further south. Back when I was flying back and forth to Europe, it was back in the days when Memphis had a direct flight to Amsterdam, and I was flying for FedEx business stuff. So I mean, everything started out of Amsterdam. Then you
Yes.
flew to London or Paris or wherever, Brussels.
That's with Northwest and KLM, I think, because KLM was based out of Amsterdam.
back in the day when Memphis had some decent flights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, did we answer your question there, Sandeep?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I hope to have some more information, by May after I come back from Barcelona.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'd put it up just for fun and nothing else. Put it on the Slack channel and
Yeah,
see if
that might
there's
stir up some interest. Get people planning. Buy tickets far enough in advance you can afford them.
maybe we ought to raise dues to $100 a piece and then pick three.
Send the board.
Yes. Hey, there you go. That's even better.
So
Okay.
do you want me to post this on the Slack channel and
Sure,
ask
yeah.
if anybody's interesting? So which channel?
Oh, I don't know.
Name Memphis
Just the
Astro.
general?
No, do the Slack. You're on the Slack channel.
Yes.
Well,
Should
I
I
mean,
put it up with the general?
I don't know. Yeah, I do it general. Yeah, just for fun.
Computer, ready, making Eclipse 2026.
Oh yeah,
I just plugged in the 2026 Eclipse into the Sentency, which was the automation software I used to do my photography for the past Eclipse. And it looks like it's going to be only like 5 degrees over the horizon. So it's going to be very, very low. So
A really cool picture.
I bet it would be.
I bet the sun will. I bet it'll be huge, appear huge.
it probably would, yeah.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
So it would be much better to be on a mountain or something like that.
Be cool.
Possibly, yeah. Higher altitude. Because if you're right there in Pensacola, and they got that mountain range, you might not even be able to see it. You might not have a low enough elevation there.
If you can get to the top of one of those mountains, you know.
La Palma might be the more ideal location just because you'll have the body of water there
Have
separating before the mainland of Spain. Either that or going like they were saying at the beginning, going to the kind of the north west side of Spain, where it first touches Spain on the totality path.
I mean, so Rick, when will you hear about where they're going to, which site is going to be picked?
Are you talking about the exploratorium?
Yes.
I don't
When will
know
you
if
hear about
they don't get funding, they won't bother planning. So they've got to raise the funds first. And I haven't heard from them. They may have, it's also entirely possible they find somebody else to do it. And they can't always afford two teams. So, and there is a guy that's got a lot more experience that they work with than me. I was the last two eclipses were my first two with them, the annular and then the total, and everything went well. So
You did a great job with it for the first time, for sure.
But Rick, wouldn't you say that it probably will be Spain that you would go to if it does happen?
well, I think this one also crosses North Africa too, right?
No,
I
I
think
didn't
it's
think
not.
No, this one's the one that's going to drop through Greenland, Iceland, and I think that's
Right.
the more ideal location
Right.
based on
Yeah,
the length of
actually, I think
totality.
that's what they were talking about, right? So there's likely to be a team in Greenland or someplace, and then maybe one in Spain.
That's,
Okay.
that's where you want to go.
There
And
you go.
what team is this that you're talking about, Rick? How do I join?
I ain't telling you because
You have to be invited.
they've
I know,
already
guy.
they've already got two telescope operators. So the Exploratorium Museum out of San Francisco,
Okay.
they get funding, they raise funds. They've been doing solar eclipse. What they specialize in is video production crews that go and live broadcast the eclipse. So that's what I did with them. I worked with them to hook up their cameras to my telescopes, and we did live satellite uplink during both the annular and the total eclipse. And it's a lot of fun. I provide the telescopes, they provide the production crew and the cameras.
That's really cool. I'm looking for funding to get me somewhere in one of these upcoming eclipses.
It was one of the most fun things I've ever done. These guys were good at what they did. These production crews have been working together for 20 years doing solar eclipses, and it was just a joy to work with them. So I really would love the opportunity to get to do it again, which is why I'm not going to tell you how to get in touch with me.
But as someone had brought up that they thought this was the one that went through the north bit of Africa. That's the one that's going to be in 2027, and that is a more ideal one if you can get into the right location, because that's going to be a long one. I think one that's going to be
I think almost
5 or 6 minutes or something like that.
Right.
And then is it 2028? They got the one that's going to go right across Australia. And then in 2030, another one that's going to go through Australia and the bottom half of Africa.
Yeah, this is perfect opportunities to travel.
Yep. Okay, we need to wrap it up tonight. It's been a great meeting and a lot of fun. And John did a great presentation. I see that you put it on the Slack channel already. So Anita, you can put your teaser about getting people to see if they want to go. It'd be fun.
Okay.
I guess I'll leave it with if somebody wants to do some Pix Insight Zooming with Steve and myself, just let us know and we can do that. And if there's any topics for next month, please let me know because I'm out right now. I mean, out of topics from our backlog. So, all right, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to stop the recording here.